Welcome to the Arnolfini Portrait, one of the gems in the National Gallery's collection ever since it was bought in 1842. It's a mysterious portrait that has puzzled viewers for centuries, and I think the mystery boils down to, can we know what these expressions mean? And I think we can. Let's dive in. Paintings are incredible sources of story, drama and meaning, and they're so much easier to enjoy when we know a little bit more about them. This painting, known as the Arnolfini Portrait, was painted by the Flemish artist Jan van Eyck in 1434. 1434! I mean, that's 3 Beethovens ago. I'm talking before printing had even been invented. And it really records the moment when oil painting, in the hands of a total genius, enabled artists to represent a very real-looking reality. Van Eyck had perfected the painstaking technique of layering different glazes and colours of paint carefully over one another, letting each layer dry for up to weeks at a time. Painstaking work indeed. As the layers built up, a genius could give his oils in his painting the transparency and light that made objects feel more real, as if they possessed a weight, a gravity, a substance, created of course by light. These rosary beads here on the wall are a great example. The way Van Eyck has layered his paints means the beads glisten with the light of reality. And look at those oranges on the side. Van Eyck has even managed to capture their reflection in the wall beside. The meaning of Van Eyck's painting is also layered. Every object in this frame has been placed here deliberately by the painter. Everywhere you look, you are ravished by the detail and the texture of reality, of things. That chandelier, that amazing mirror, really an eye at the centre of the picture. We'll be back to discuss that soon. The beautiful windowsill that lights the scene, with a cherry tree and blossom visible just outside. That sable lining on the man's coat, those wonderful sandals. I say this quite often in these videos, but if you get the chance to visit central London, go to the National Gallery and check out those shoes. Short interlude for most recent edit here. I actually went to see the picture last weekend, and the National Gallery was very, very crowded. It is free, and it's a lovely place to go, but beware. Okay, interlude over. The feel of the wood is incredible, and that dog, look how Van Eyck has painstakingly painted every single hair. And then that carpet, amazing. That woman's dress with those incredible bolts of cloth. The beautiful squirrel fur lining of her clothes. That bedstead at the back. Everything we look at ravishes the eye. These items are all very beautiful in their own right, because they would have cost a fortune at the time. That's the 15th century, which means this is the portrait of a very, very rich man. In fact, we know who this is. Giovanni Arnolfini, a fabulously wealthy merchant from Bruges, with his wife, we presume. Indeed, until recently, most people assumed this painting was a marriage picture. And a marriage needs witnesses, taking us to the amazing detail in the mirror behind, where we can see 2 people beautifully captured like a flashbulb reflection. It's an incredible piece of detailed painting. The curvature of the glass is shown by the reflected roof beams above, and look at the intricate detail of these 12 panels, which each show moments from the life of Christ. We'll come back to that too. So, in the reflection we can see 2 people, one of whom presumably is the artist, Van Eyck, and the other is, I think, us, the viewer of the piece, included with beautiful subtlety by Van Eyck. From where they stand, they see this portrait just as we do. So Van Eyck's here, and what's more, he signed his presence on the wall in literal graffiti, spelling Van Eyck was here in Latin. So, are we and the painter witnesses to a wedding? Well, I have to ask, what about his face? Is this an expression of celebration? There's some pride here surely, but there's also a deep seriousness to Arnolfini's mien. And the wife, why is her face so hard to read? And even more controversially, is she pregnant? Now lots of people say this isn't a pregnant woman, just one lifting a lot of fabric. I'm not sure I agree. And it's not just that protective posture she's holding. Check out the bedstead figure behind. That's St. Margaret, patron saint of childbirth. And childbirth, we should remember, was more than just a time of celebration for a 15th century woman. It was also a time of grave danger. I think Van Eyck has recorded something much more austere than a wedding here. I think the painting represents the death of his wife in childbirth. Look at the details on the panels in the mirror again. Notice how the 6 panels on Arnolfini's side of the picture represent Christ's life, whereas the 6 on her side represents Christ's death and of course resurrection. Notice also the chandelier above, a candle, a light on his side. On hers, it has conspicuously gone out. No detail is accidental in a masterpiece like this. And those rosary beads, symbols of prayer, this feels like the recording of a life past, not a wedding. And of course, there's his expression. Historical research seems to back up the theory. Arnolfini's first wife, Constanza, did indeed die in childbirth a year before this work was painted. The bedchamber we're in might even be the scene of her death. And again, look at those expressions. Arnolfini's is so complex and layered, whereas hers is far more idealised, far less realistic, perhaps less surprising if Van Eyck wasn't dealing with a living subject to paint. And then there are all those beautiful objects in the painting. Everything means something. Those rosary beads on the wall, that dog, loyal beasts often represented at the feet of dead owners. Those oranges, symbols of fruitfulness and wealth, but also perhaps symbols of transience, of things that don't last. There are indeed layers of meaning within this beautiful painting, psychological as well as spiritual, just like the layers of paint so wonderfully crafted by Van Eyck to bring to life events from 600 years ago. It's an incredible painting, small but brilliant. Do try and see it. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.